In this video, I'm going to show you how to write an amazing song from scratch, even if you don't know any music theory and don't know how to play an instrument. This is going to be awesome. And this is how I got started way back in the day. I just started making music because I saw my dad making music and it looked kind of cool. You could just hit the keyboard and play some sounds. I didn't even know what all the notes on the keyboard were. I didn't know what an A or a C or any of that stuff was. I just started hitting notes until I found something that sounded good. And that's how I got started making music, and that's how I made music for a long time. And I still don't know how to play an instrument. I still don't know very much music theory, although I do know some. And I still make songs. People have hired me to make songs. So you absolutely can get started and make amazing music, even if you don't feel like you are a musician. And it's not just me. There's a lot of music producers out there that do this. For example, a big one is deadmau5. He talks about how he actually doesn't play an instrument either.
And that's my life right now, because if I could just play it, I'd play it, but I can't, so I have to draw it.
Now, obviously, if you're wanting to make more acoustic sounding music, you probably need to be able to play an instrument. But if you're looking to make, electronic music, then you absolutely don't need to know how to play an instrument. So we're going to look at how to write a song here today. And we're going to go through everything, how to tempo your song, what key, how to know what instrument, what notes are in that key very easily, how to structure your song, how to go about writing verses and choruses and all that stuff and where they should go, what is a verse, what is a chorus, all of that. And then I'm actually going to write the song as well so that you can see how to do it. Hey, I'm Regan Ram with Orpheus Audio Academy, and I've been creating music since about 2011, and I've since gotten a degree in audio engineering, and now I teach it on this channel here. And this video is part of my Saddest Studio Ever series, where I show you how to create a full professional sounding song from scratch, A to Z, everything you need to know to do that from home using budget equipment and stock plugins and without any knowledge of music theory or how to play an instrument. So complete beginner's entry point. So be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos in this series. I also have a free gift I want to give you. It's my rapid song finishing checklist, also a mixing checklist, which gives you kind of the step-by-step system you need in order to finish producing your songs, in order to actually mix your songs so they sound great, they sound professional. And it also has some real handy checklists and cheat sheets in there on how to go about EQing and compressing your tracks. And if you don't know what those are yet, don't worry, you will learn in this series. So it's a really awesome free guide that I still use all the time. You can grab it in the description below or go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/mixing checklist. Looking at this blank canvas can be kind of intimidating. So how do we start? Well, let's first start with looking at song structures. Song structures are so important when it comes to whether someone's actually going to listen to your song or finish your song. So having a great song structure is key and something that I think often gets overlooked. Structuring a song is a lot like playing with Legos, where you get a lot of different pieces, different blocks of different colors and lengths, and you can take these apart and put them back together in any kind of configuration you want, because after all, music is subjective, so there's no hard and fast rules here. But I will share with you what tends to be the most popular song structures and what people are most familiar with, because when you think of going viral, not saying that you're going to make a viral hit song or anything, but kind of the general formula with going viral or writing a hit song, it is familiarity plus blended with something unique. So you want to have your song be familiar enough to people that it's not throwing them for a loop and, making them want to turn the song off, but it's familiar enough in that category, but it's also unique enough that sounds different, sounds fresh, and they want to listen to it all the way through. So before we go into arranging the actual structure of the song, we have to know what pieces, what Lego blocks we're working with, the building blocks of making a song, right? Because that can seem kind of intimidating, just go write a song. Well, it's actually very simple, and you realize it's only made up of a few key parts. So number one is the intro or outro, and this is really optional. This is kind of going the way of the dodo bird as songs are getting shorter and shorter. Then you have the verse, then the chorus, then maybe a pre-chorus, maybe a bridge, and then maybe an interlude. So these are kind of the different pieces of a song, and you can arrange these in different ways. All right, so now that we know what our building blocks are, our Lego blocks for our song, how do we now arrange these different blocks? What are our different Lego kits, to continue the metaphor? Well, one is strophic, which could be considered kind of boring because it's just the same part over and over and over again. So this would be like hymns follow this format. So I guess the benefit is it's really easy to sing because it's the same thing over and over again, but it can, get a little boring. So really don't see this used so much for modern day music. Then you have through compose, which is another style, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it is a style nonetheless, where nothing repeats and you just have different sections, for example, A, B, C, D. And these letters are just meant to represent different song sections. So if you go back to the different building blocks, right, it could be a verse, it could be a chorus, bridge, what have you, just different sections are what these letters represent. So Bohemian Rhapsody is an example of this, and unpopular opinion incoming, I don't really like this song. I think it sounds like just pretentious noise. So that maybe has offended a lot of people, but a lot of people love this song. So through composed is a style that can work. Then there is the binary style. So that'd be like A, B, A, B, or B, A, B, A. If A is a verse in this example and B is the chorus, right? You could lead with the verse and then chorus, verse, chorus, or you could go chorus, verse, chorus, verse. And so it's binary because we have, just two sections that are alternating. And this is very common in hip hop. And it's just really becoming increasingly popular in general as songs get shorter and shorter. You don't really have room for intros or outros or interludes or bridges, pre-choruses, things like that. So you just have this binary structure, which can definitely work and can be interesting and good, especially if you have a shorter song. Greensleeves is an example of this from back in the day, and Billie Jean is a more modern example. So then we have kind of the pop song structure. This is probably the most common, where you have something like this, where it's A, B, A, B, C, B. Or you flip it around and have the choruses come first, B, A, B, A, C, B. And so this is kind of what it looks like. So you got the intro, which might be like really short, maybe just like, 4 bars and that's it. And then you have a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. Or maybe just ends, right? You don't really have an outro, but some kind of, song ends at the end there. So a classic pop structure typically has 3 peaks in energy offset by subsequent drops in energy. Much like a roller coaster, there are typically 3 choruses, 2 or maybe 3 verses, and a bridge section. Pre-chorus or post-chorus can sometimes be used to build or come down from a chorus. And the final chorus usually contains the most energy and serves as the climax of the song. Then we have the EDM structure. This is basically like A, B, C, A, B, C. So it's kind of binary in a sense, but as the song can kind of be split down the middle, it's like 2 halves. But within those 2 halves, you have multiple sections. So the EDM or banger structure follows a structure of builds and drops rather than using standard verses. This structure instead has usually 2 main builds where tension increases over time before being released in the hooks. What's key here is the use of rhythm to create tension and build energy between the hooks. And so typically, like a lot of time your hooks, like almost like the pre-hook is kind of like your chorus, like vocally and lyrically speaking. And the hook is oftentimes kind of like just instrumental with maybe some like really short vocal phrases. So those are kind of 2 big structures right now. And so what strong structure is the best? You might be wondering. Well, there is really no best one. You might be better off, choosing one of those more popular styles, right? The pop or the EDM or the binary. And then maybe just focus on just writing one structure for a while until you kind of nail that down. And then maybe you add in some other ones. Maybe you kind of work with kind of just like 3 main structures that you rotate and get good at for a while before you consider adding in more structures. And so there's really no best structure. So my songwriting secrets, this is something to keep in mind when you're songwriting, no matter what structure you're using, is you want to make every part something you'd want to skip to and listen to on repeat. So something I found when I was writing songs is sometimes I would have a part that I really liked, and as I found myself listening to the song, I'd find myself fast forwarding to that part or rewinding to listen to that part again. And I realized why do I have these other sections? Why am I including sections in my song that I'm skipping over? That must mean they're not good enough. They're probably not awful, they're probably okay, but there's one really good part, and I'm like, well, why don't I make the whole song a really good part? So I found if there was parts that I found myself skipping over, that I wanted to rewrite those sections so that they were good enough that I would be happy listening to that one part on repeat. So that's kind of just a little hack or tidbit there. Then there's something to think about. It's the single versus the deep cut. So, right, maybe the single, you follow one of those more popular structures, whether it be the pop structure or the binary structure, but then you put those kind of make that your main focus, but every once in a while you have, you know, something maybe is considered more of a deep cut where it doesn't follow a traditional structure. It's a little bit more experimental, a little bit more unpredictable, and it's something that allows you to experiment. So that's another thing to think about when you're writing these songs, is you can do a mix of both. All right, so we're gonna write our song now. So we're gonna do the typical pop song structure. And so I'm gonna go ahead and create the structure in my DAW here before creating the track. And so the way we're gonna do that is I'm just gonna use markers here. And so we can just click marker here in Logic, and then we can title it. So we'll do intro, and we can kind of see this to measure like our 4 bars section here. So we'll keep the intro short. And then we're gonna do our first verse. So we'll do verse 1, and we'll have this be 8 bars. That's kind of another good concept with songwriting in general, is the 8-bar rule, where you kind of want to change something up every 8 bars. Should we have a pre-chorus? Sure, we'll do a pre-chorus. And we'll keep this to be just 4. And then we'll have chorus 1. So we want to get to the chorus as quick as possible. So as it stands right here, we're getting there at about the 32-second mark. You can see right here. So not bad. You want to get to that, kind of get to the chorus within like 30 to like 45 seconds. And we'll keep this chorus shorter. Also 8 bars. Then we'll go to verse 2. And we'll make verse 2 double the length of verse 1. Make it a little bit longer to change things up. Then we got pre-chorus 2. I think we'll also make this double the length of the last pre-chorus, because now everyone's heard the elements. Now we can let them enjoy those elements a little bit longer. Same thing with the next chorus. We'll double that. So now we're at 2 minutes, and we'll do a bridge here. The empty space in the song, and then we want it to be completely done by like right here. So here I'll put end. So this is where I'll kind of, when I bounce the track or export it, I'll just include like this space. So this is where I want it to be done by. So I want, this is basically a 3-minute and 36-second song. So we can have this be the outro. And right, you can have a longer song too if you want to, but we're gonna go for kind of a more pop song. So 3:20, that's pretty good. So now we have our song structure, and it can be a good idea to color these as well. So in Logic, we can just do Option C to pull up color. So now we've set the structure of our song. What should the tempo and key of the song be? So first tempo type is slow tempos. These are typically 60 to 80 beats per minute, or BPM. And these are great if you want to create a more emotional type of song. So it's more introspective, calm, melancholic, or romantic. So that's what these great like slower tempos are for. Slow tempos can create a sense of reflection, sadness, or intimacy. They allow for more space between beats, making the listener focus on the nuances of melody, harmony, and lyrics. So these are great for ballads, ambient music, down-tempo, electronic, and some types of blues. So if that's the type of song you want to create, then look to do it in the 60 to 80 beats per minute range. Second type of tempo is the moderate tempo. Before I dive into what this is, I just want to let you know about my free song finishing checklist. I'll have a link to that in the description below. This will help you write, mix, and finish more songs faster so you can get more songs out there into the world and build your fan base faster and get those streams up. So if you want this guide, it's completely free. You can grab it in the description below, or you can go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/mixing checklist. This is really handy. It tells you exactly what to do for every type of instrument and gives you a formula for mixing each of your songs so you can produce radio quality songs each and every time in record time. So second type of tempos is the moderate tempo. This is like 80 to 120 BPM. This is a more balanced, easygoing, and uplifting type of emotion that it creates. And the impact is that songs with moderate tempo often feel natural, relaxed, or optimistic. These tempos are comfortable for listeners to tap along to and be versatile for a range of emotions from happy to hopeful to casual and laid back. So great for pop, rock, R&B, and folk. This might be like the most common type of tempo, I'm not sure, but it's a very common tempo range. So the third type of tempo is the fast tempo. So this is like 120 to 160 BPM, so we're getting pretty fast here. And the emotion that this is going to create is energetic, joyful, tense, or aggressive. So the impact is faster tempos create excitement, urgency, or tension. They can elevate the listener's heart rate and make a track feel more intense or thrilling. Fast music often feels more dynamic and gets people moving. So this is great for dance, punk, fast-paced rock, electronic music, and some hip-hop. This takes us to the fourth type of tempo. This is rather rare, but anything that's over 160 BPM, and the emotion that this is going to create is going to be frenzied, chaotic, euphoric, or highly energetic, as you might imagine. The impact is it's very fast tempos can push a sense of hyperactivity, extreme joy, or chaos. The speed can overwhelm, adding intensity and making a track feel almost breathless. So this is great for drum and bass, speed metal, hardcore punk, and some types of EDM. So now we're going to talk about what key your songs should be in. But before we get to that, I just want to let you know that this video is sponsored by my course, Radio Ready Record. This is my complete end-to-end system to go from knowing nothing to producing radio quality songs from home. This basically takes everything I learned in audio engineering school and condenses it down and gives you everything you need and nothing and no fluff. So everything you need and nothing you don't to be able to create amazing quality music from home. And not only will you be able to create pro music from home, but you'll be able to do it with the plugins and gear you already have. So in the beginning, we start out by walking you through how to set up your home studio, including how to get started with budget equipment. And then we move on to talking about how to actually write and produce songs. This is more so my bread and butter, as most of my clients have hired me to write songs for them. So if you want to learn more about songwriting, production, this is a great module for you because it kind of shares everything I know in that area. Then I go on to share with you how to use the different tools in mixing, whether it be EQ or compression and so on. And then we look at how to actually mix and master. So everything from start to finish to be able to produce high quality music from home. It's all in this course. If you want to learn more about it, then check the link in the description below or go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/RRR. All right, back to the video. First, let's look at major keys. Should you write your song in a major key? Well, major keys, they typically are going to be a little bit more happy sounding, more triumphant, bright, uplifting. And major keys are often associated with positive emotions like joy, confidence, and optimism. The intervals in a major scale create a harmonious, pleasing sound, giving a sense of resolution and satisfaction. So my favorite key out there is probably C major because it's so easy to write in that key, and many others probably would agree because it's just all the white keys. Also C sharp minor is a great one because it's like all the black keys. And I think like C and F maybe. I'm not a music theory expert, in case you haven't noticed. Good thing is you don't have to be an expert at music theory to be able to create awesome songs. And so these are great for pop, classical, gospel, and many types of rock. Great to have major keys. Then you have some common major keys and their emotional associations. For example, C major, that has a neutral, pure, simple, and straightforward sound. Found that this can be either happy or sad, really. Then you have the G major key, considered to be cheerful, bright, and energetic. D major is triumphant and grand, often used in anthems. And E major is strong, powerful, and expressive. By the way, I actually have a little songwriting cheat sheet you can grab in the description below. And this includes some just really cool ninja tips for creating chords. It also includes all the different keys, so you know what notes are in each key. So you look up any key, whether D major, D minor, whatever, it has all the different notes in each of those, so you never have to wonder what notes go in this key. It's completely free in the description below. Now this takes us to minor keys. And so minor keys, they typically are a little bit more sad, more melancholy, introspective, or dramatic. Minor keys tend to sound darker and more emotional, often conveying sadness, tension, or longing. The use of a lowered third creates a more somber and less resolved feel compared to major keys. So depending on what kind of song you're trying to create, or what is kind of the fundamental emotion you want to create with your song, right? That's kind of the great thing about music, is it's basically communicating through emotion, whereas other types of communication, whether it be written, right? Text is communicating through words, or talking in a video like this, we're communicating through words, but music, you're communicating through emotions, right? I know you have lyrics, which kind of communicate, but really more so with music, you're communicating through emotion. So if you want to communicate the fundamental emotion of your song as something more energetic or uplifting, consider using a major. If you want to consider something more somber or dramatic, use a minor key. Some common minor keys and their emotional associations. You have A minor, which is considered to be melancholic, sad, but not too heavy. You have D minor, which is dark, serious, and often considered the most tragic key. Yeah, E minor, reflective and emotional, but with a sense of hope. C minor, deep, emotional, often associated with struggle or tragedy. So those are just some ideas for you to go about creating your tempo and your keys in your songs. I wouldn't spend too much time with it. Some artists I know, they'll use kind of a digital dice or maybe even a physical dice, I don't know. And they kind of just use that to randomly select their tempo and keys. So they don't have to waste time really thinking about it. They can just dive in and do it. Or maybe have a list of some of your favorite songs and just look up what's that tempo, what's that key, and just go with that. And so you can know you have a good combination there because it fits to a song that you know and love. All right, so for this song, we're going to go ahead and set our tempo and key, and we're going to keep it very simple. Do 128 tempo, and then for the key, we're just going to go with the key of D major. All right, so we have everything set up. Now we're ready to start writing, so let's get to it. So what is the purpose of the verse? The verse is where the story of the song unfolds. It provides context, narrative, and progression. So you probably know this already. Most songs have some kind of story or progression that happens throughout. And so really the verses of the songs are where this happens. And so with verses, the lyrics often do not repeat. The lyrics don't repeat. So like the parts that repeat, that's the chorus. The parts that don't repeat, that's the verse. And instead, the verses advance the story and develop the theme. There are exceptions to this. Sometimes people repeat the verse. For example, one of my favorite songs, Mr. Brightside by The Killers, they just repeated the first verse as the second verse because I think they just ran out of time and it wasn't really intentional. And then the melody. So how does the melody of the verse go? Often it's more subdued or varied compared to the chorus, right? It's not quite as high energy. And then the content, it focuses on the specifics of the song's message or the story, providing the listener with information and details about what's going on versus the chorus, which is more so the theme of the song. And so then where do you place the verses? They're typically alternate with the choruses throughout the song. There are exceptions to this. You can really structure a song any way you want, but kind of there's a main structure, which we already covered. But that's just something to keep in mind. So now typically you're going to have at least two verses in a song. So we're going to cover the first verse and the second verse and what you want to do for these. So with the first verse, what's the purpose of the first verse specifically? Right, we looked at verses broadly. Now specifically the first verse, you want to hook the listener. Now this is different than the hook of the song, right? Some people interchange the word hook and chorus. So obviously it's not the hook of the song, but it needs to still hook the listener so they keep listening. That's if the verse comes first, which is usually what happens, but you could also even put the chorus of your song first and go chorus, verse, bridge, chorus or something. But this is assuming the verse comes first. Whatever comes first in your song, it needs to hook your listener and obviously be interesting. Also, it has to establish the milieu of your song. So that's like the theme, the setting, the tone of the song. And you want your first verse to begin the story, the narrative. How does things start? Where are they at? And there's different ways to structure this, but typically it's like things are going one way in the first verse and the second verse are going a different way. So maybe things are not good in the first verse and they're better later, or depending on how many verses, right, you can develop on it. Maybe the second verse develops on the first verse and the bridge kind of is the resolution or something. We'll cover all that later. So how do you go about writing your first verse then? Well, I forgot to delete those first two numbers, so bear with me. But you want to introduce the listener to the story and hint at what's coming. You want to build towards the chorus musically and lyrically, and you want to present a relatable narrative or theme. And you want to keep the instrumentation more simple and have it be lower energy than the chorus. And so the way you do that is with things like speed. The way you do that is with things like speed and speed, density, and pitch are how you impact the energy. So If something is faster, right, you're playing faster notes, right, 16th notes versus 8th notes, right, it's faster pace, or there's just more notes, that is perceived as having more energy. If it's, higher in pitch, it moves up the scale more, it's considered more energy. And if there's just more going on, more instruments and so on, it's considered more energy. So with that in mind, you want your first verse to have less energy than your chorus. Any verses in general have less energy than your chorus. Also, keep it as short as possible in general. There's a common, line that says, don't bore us, get to the chorus. So typically you want to be at your first chorus within 45 seconds to a minute, if not faster. All right, now we're on to writing the second verse, which is going to be very similar to writing the first verse. We're just going to be building onto it. So you want to emphasize the first verse with this, right? You can just copy and paste it over. And again, like I mentioned earlier, that's Mr. Brightside is literally, the second verse is the exact same as the first verse. Although this wasn't intentional, it was kind of just they ran out of time. Although you never want to strictly copy and paste, right? Maybe you play the exact same thing, right? If you are playing an instrument, you would, play the same thing as you played in the first verse, but you actually want a second performance because that's going to have a little bit of variation to it, right? If you're using electronic music, right, you can literally just copy and paste over. But if you're doing vocals, and even if you're singing the exact same words, you don't want to just copy and paste the same vocal performance over. You want to actually just re-sing it. And that's what the Killers did. So it still adds a different flavor, a different character to it. So it's fresh. And it's not going to just be like, oh, I just heard this already. But ideally, you want to write new lyrics for this. You want to continue or finish the narrative that you had in verse 1. So verse 1 was A, and now we have B. So there's a big opportunity here. This is where there is a lot of opportunity to make your lyrics great. How well do you build on your first verse and advance the plot? That's really what makes the lyrics here, and the chorus, of course. So instrumentation, you want to have a little bit more energy than the first verse, but less than the chorus still. So again, you can keep the instrumentation exactly the same, but I like to find a way to maybe add in subtle things to make it just a little bit more interesting, a little bit more energy. All right, pre-chorus. How do you write a pre-chorus? Number one, these are optional, so you don't have to include a pre-chorus, but they can be helpful. I like them because I just like to have more flavors and stuff in my song. So the pre-chorus serves as the bridge between the verse and the chorus. It creates contrast and builds tension, preparing listeners for the release that comes with the chorus. So you can think of it as a ramp leading into the most powerful part of the song, or my friend Joseph with songwriter theory, he calls it the alley-oop, which I think is a really good example from, the NBA or basketball. It could be college basketball, where, teammate throws the ball, lobs the ball up into the air, and the other teammate jumps up and slam dunks it. So that's an alley-oop. So use this if you feel like the transition between your verse and your chorus is too abrupt, or a lot of times I use it just because I want more variance in my song, and it's just fun to write new sections, I think. So pre-chorus instrumentation. You want this to be pretty short, usually only 4 to 8 bars, and you want to help it, create that contrast between the verse and the chorus. Another cool tip from my friend Joseph was to avoid the one chord. I did a full interview with him. You can check out in the description below. By the way, he's really a master at songwriting. So you want to avoid the one chord. So for example, if you're writing in the key of C, don't use the C chord in your pre-chorus, because that helps add to the sense of tension and the lack of resolve. And then you have that one chord in the chorus, and then you really feel that resolution and that powerful transition. The chorus, the most important part of your song. How do you go about writing the chorus? Well, first off, let's look at the purpose. The chorus is the emotional and thematic core of the song. It emphasizes the main message or theme, and it's designed to be memorable and catchy. Definitely need to be catchy and memorable. It's what people hum. It's what people remember, if it's done well. The lyrics of the chorus usually remain the same each time it is repeated. Repetition helps reinforce the song's message. Right, melody. The melody in the chorus is often catchier, more powerful, and more anthemic compared to the verses, and it's crafted to stick in the listener's mind. So how do you do that? Actually, it might seem counterintuitive, but actually the simpler the melody, the catchier it is. If it's notes are going all over the place, then it's not quite as catchy. It's more it's more complex. It's actually harder to remember and harder to be catchy. And so I like to have the melody maybe be a little bit more complex during the verses, and then you simplify it during the chorus, and you simplify it, but also has more energy. All right. And this is right. You know this to be true. If I used to run sound for a church, if you ever sing songs in churches, there's a lot of repetition. Number one, because it's kind of like, it's almost like you're saying like affirmations or faith declarations about certain things, right? Like that's what kind of makes it worship music, but also typically they're very simple so that the audience of people who are not musicians, not singers, can still sing along and still remember it and pick it up easily. So that's something to keep in mind. Content, the chorus summarizes the key idea or feeling of the song. It's typically broader, more generalized than the verses, right? The verses, maybe you're more zoomed in, you're more looking at details and specifics. You know, it's talking about the weather or where you're at setting wise, but the chorus kind of zooms out and it's talking about the message of the song. There's different ways you can write this. You can be more on the nose, more literal. I like to write more impressionistic lyrics. I find those are better because they kind of apply to a more broad range of people, right? A song can have multiple meanings for different people. I kind of like that. It's also better for like getting like sync deals and stuff if you write a little bit more impressionistically. So I like to do that. So even though it has the message and the theme, I like it to be still kind of vague, that more people can interpret it different ways, and so that people can hear it and it can apply to their life and their situation. Someone can have a completely different life situation and it applies to them. So it has more broad appeal, I guess, by being more, I don't know if that's the right good, but still want it to be powerful and still recognizable. So hopefully that's helpful and not too convoluted. And again, there's no rules here. Placement in the chorus follows the verse and is repeated multiple times, or you can even have the chorus first if you want to. But you have this repeat throughout the song. Often it is the part that listeners remember the most, right? You're going to probably have 2 to 3 choruses in your song. All right, the bridge. What is the bridge and how do you write one? So the bridge is basically just offering contrast. So offer a fresh musical or lyrical idea to prevent monotony. I am running out of water and very thirsty. I need to take a break. I've been recording for 3 hours or something. So you want to build emotion with your bridge. You want to heighten tension before returning to the final chorus. So it's almost like another pre-chorus, but with its own chords and own instrumentation and own lyrics and so on. So you want to add depth to your story so you can introduce a new perspective or add a twist in the lyrics or actually resolve the narrative. You want to create a dynamic shift that often leads into a powerful final chorus or outro. So maybe the energy comes way down to create that contrast with the huge climactic final chorus. Instrumentation wise, I like to use this as just a wild card. Just go somewhere different, really change stuff up, but also try and use some of the same instruments and sonic ingredients just in a new way for continuity. So if you think of songwriting as cooking, right? Like imagine you're Taco Bell, right? People criticize Taco Bell, even though it's amazing, that all their different meal items are exactly the same. You use the exact same ingredients. They're just arranged a different way, but that's kind of all Mexican food in general, I think. So anyway, you want to have that continuity with your bridge, but you also want to be really different. So just take those same ingredients, the same instruments, and just rearrange them a different way. So change up the chords, change up the melody, all that stuff. And I just think it's like really fun. It's one of my most, I think, fun parts of writing a song is writing the bridge. So use some new chords, melody, rhythm, and dynamics, and lyrics. Keep it short and impactful, usually 4 to 8 bars. I have a hard time sticking to 8 bars myself sometimes. Sometimes I go longer because I like the bridge I've written. I want to hear more of it. So it's a brief detour before returning to the main road of the song. It's kind of another way to think about it. So transition back to the chorus, right? It's a big part of it, and that can be a little tricky to pull off, especially when it's so different. So you want to use kind of those same pre-chorus tactics to build up and lead back into the final chorus. Or you could have like a drop. That's another thing that can help, is just dropping out where all the sound stops and then for a breath, and then boom, the final chorus hits, which is the most climactic part of the song. All right, now the final part of what really brings the whole song together, glues it all together, is adding in some ear candy. So this isn't actually a specific section, but this kind of just brings everything together really. It's like adding salt to your dish, right? You have all these ingredients put together just right, so good, but you need some seasoning, you need some flavor. That's what ear candy is. So ear candy is small, subtle musical elements that can really bring your song together, make it more engaging, dynamic, and enjoyable to listen to. So these are details that keep the listener's attention by adding texture, surprise, and emotional depth. Often, this can be the difference between a professional sounding production and an amateur one. So this isn't really just a fun thing. It's actually really good to add. It really adds to your song more than you realize. So what are some examples of ear candy? So one can be like vocal manipulation and ad-libs. So for example, in my song When Till We're Analog, I added like some bit crushing to a little vocal part. You can hear what it sounds like here. In my song City in the Sea, and that kind of the final outro chorus, I just did some ad-libs, kind of just singing the final lyrics just over again in different ways. So those are a couple ideas. Instrumental fills. So maybe you have some portions where the vocals drop out and you just have a lead sound, like a synth lead or a like guitar solo or something. You could have synth and or sound effects added to your songs. These go a long way as well. Here are a couple of songs where I do this. You can have risers, fallers, and impacts. These are really big in electronic music where you have like a white noise like shh, and then stuff like that. Those are big. Those add a lot. And you really, sometimes you don't notice them when you're listening, but you really would notice them if they're not there. Different sound design elements. So maybe you're diving into your synths and tweaking settings over time and using automation to change stuff up. This is huge. I use this all the time in my songs. Lyric driven effects. I kind of mentioned that either with the vocal manipulation, but vocal manipulation, I'll also talk about that. I could also be like using a vocoder or something, and different effects on your vocals, or singing something differently, or like doing la-las or ahas or ohs or oohs or ahs or whatever. But you can also have lyric driven effects. So based on the lyric, you either change up the vocal like we had in Crystal Soda, or you put in a sound effect to complement what's being said. Like if you talk about a splash or something, you could put in a little splash sound effect. If you talk about typing or something, you have like a typewriter sound effect. We had our key was going to be D major, but I'm going to keep it even simpler. I changed my mind. We're going to do C. So I like to pull up the transposer tool. I'm here in Logic. Your DAW probably has something similar. And what this does is you can set the key and you can see all the notes in that scale. So even if you don't know music theory, you can see, oh, so if I just play all the white keys together, it'll sound decent. So we got that going for us. And so then what do we do? What do we start with? We start with drums, we start with bass, vocals, melody, blah. There's a lot of different ways to start. I find one of the easiest ways for beginners to start is just with chords. And another great beginner tool you can use is this free autochords.com. If you're just getting started, you don't want to have to think and come up with too many things. So the simpler you can make the process for yourself when you're starting out, the better. And so if you don't have to worry about creating chords, just use something like this and it will generate the chords for you. So you can see this is like the cliche chord progression here. I think that'll be good for our chorus. And then we'll just use one of these alternatives here for the verse. So let's try these out. That was loud. Not bad. So maybe we'll use this one for the verse. So F, C, D minor, B flat. So we're just going to right click in here to create MIDI region. And then we are going to put in our chords here. And I'm just going to stick with a simple piano instrument. And we can worry about picking sounds later. Again, we're keeping this really simple you can really get bogged down cycling through sounds after sound after sound. So we're just going to create everything in piano so we know it all sounds good together. And then we'll adjust from there. So we're starting with F. And the nice thing about auto chords is it shows you all the notes too. So what is F? F is the notes F, A, C. Another simple way of knowing that is that this is a major chord. So if a major chord, we got our root note here, which is F. Then we just count up 4 notes for a major. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 3 more for the top note. 1, 2, 3. And that's your basic triad chord. Now these are also called the 3rd and the 5th, I believe, in technical terms, music theory terms, but we're not going to worry about technical music theory terms because who cares. So we're going to F, and then we're going to do C. So we can just copy these over. I'm going to hold down Option to be able to copy these all over. And we're going to go down to C. So we got F, C, then D minor, up to D, and then B flat. So how do you do a B flat? How do you do a D minor? So we're just going to leave this on B for now. So going back to the D minor. So we talked about the major chord. You start with the root and you count up 4. So with a minor, it's the inverse. So you count up 3 and then 4. So we'll bring this down. So now we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now it's D minor. And so to make something a flat or a sharp, in this case a flat, B flat, you just create the B and then you just drag them all down 1. Pretty simple. So now it should sound good. Cross our fingers. Let's hear how this sounds. Nice. Although now that I'm hearing this, it sounds too dark. So one thing we can do is an inversion. So we can just take this. Well, let's see. First off, I'm going to move these all up an octave just because it's. I want to make room for us. And now we're going to look at how we can like dress up these chords to make them more interesting. So one thing we can do is we can just take this root note and copy these down an octave. So boom, just copy them down an octave. But yeah, I'm really not liking the sound of this B flat right now. So let's try something else. Or alternatively, could we just do it, invert it like that? Now, let's try an A minor. Okay, that sounds better. All right, so now we're gonna dress these chords up and make them sound a little cooler. One thing we can do is we can like take the middle notes here. We move them up an octave. Or alternatively, we could try inverting some of these notes, like taking maybe these top notes. Inversion is you should take a note and you move it down or up an octave. So maybe we'll bring this down here. Maybe we'll bring this up here. It's kind of cool. And for the music that I like to make, I like to have it be more kind of dreamy kind of feeling. And for that, I like to use like diminished chords. And that just means you take the middle note here and you move it up or down inside here somewhere. So let's try moving this up. I kind of like that. And maybe we can like chop these up a little bit. I think that's called syncopation. Make it a little bit more interesting. That's not right. Sometimes I like to return to the first note somewhere here in the third, or the first chord somewhere in the third chord. Nip, 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 nip. So we'll just keep it like this. Pretty simple, pretty cool. We could alternatively, I think we could try just adding in more notes or taking that middle note, which I think was this one. Because we inverted this, right? And we inverted this. So like this. Is it this? This? Kind of cool. And maybe we want to add a pedal. We kind of already have a pedal tone here in here. A pedal tone is just where you have one note that goes all the way through. But maybe we want to add another one. So good thing is kind of like idea is like the root note. So in this case would be like F. So we kind of already have that started up here too. So we could try that. So maybe we want to try adding some more notes. Like what if we just have this come across? Something like that. So that's an option, or we could do this. Like that. Now, don't at all feel like you have to do big chords like this every time. Just go with what sounds good for you in your track. And then we're gonna our pre-chorus and our chorus. So we'll go ahead and do the chorus here. I think this is a little auto chords. We want to do C, G, A minor, F, right? Do do do. So we're gonna erase these, and we're gonna repeat the process. Drop these down an octave. That's fine. And let's see. Again, let's just try moving some notes around. Well, this was definitely out of key. Alright, let's invert. And maybe we'll take those middle notes again. So wait, if I inverted this, that'd be this. Let's see, what if I just did this? Move these up an octave. These two high. Alright, then we got our pre-chorus here. And so we want to do something a little different here. And so it's good to avoid the one chord here in the pre-chorus. So we're going to try not to use C. A minor. This might not sound good. A minor, E minor, F, D minor. Might be too many minors, but let's try it. But this is what auto chords is spitting out, so. Like that. Alright, so basically we have our whole song foundation now. got a little bit more energy now in that chorus, with the choppiness there. So now we can basically just copy these over. Intro, we can have just be the verse. Chords. And we're at the bridge here. And in Logic or something cool, we can do like a session player. Maybe we'll just add in a session keyboard player and we'll do like broken chords or something. And we will have them play so we can kind of see the controls here. So this creates a little keyboard part for us. So we can hear how that sounds. So if we pull this down here, we can see the chords. So we can see what the chords are basically playing here. So we have C, D minor, C, F, C, D minor, A minor, F, C, D minor, A minor. Okay, it's all over the place. So we can put in whatever chords we want here. So maybe we even want them to like follow the chorus. So we could do C, G, E minor, F. Maybe we'll add some variation. Maybe we'll make this D. Because I kind of like the sound of that D. Which is D minor it needs to be? Yeah, D minor. Again, we'll come back to D here. So just a little variation. We can change up the performance here too. We can have it just play freely. Add a bunch of grace notes. Adjust the complexity. Maybe I'll change up this last progression. And we can slice this. And we can make this maybe more simple to end. And to add some more contrast, we could make this more intense and complex. Just something, so we'll see. And then we can take these and we can copy it up here. So now it's playing the same piano part. Something a little interesting. We've got our outro. All right, so cool. Then maybe we want to add in a bass. So I'm just going to throw in a bass that I like. I make like more electronic music, so that's what this song's going to end up being. So let's throw in some Serum. I really like the Madonna bass here and the Synth Pop pack by Synth Control, which you actually can get, I believe, 20% off, 10% off, 20% off. You can use my link in the description below if you decide you like this sound. And then we are going to get our bass going. And so, ooh, that's loud. We're going to keep this simple. And we're going to throw on an arpeggiator on here. Actually, we're going to keep that for maybe the chorus. All right, we got F, C, D. So I think I might want to play something on the keyboard here. So we got window, we'll do musical typing. So now I can use this little thing here to play. And we're just going to stick with F. I'm not really great at playing, especially on this keyboard, so I'm just going to play the pattern and then I'll arrange the notes after. And we got the metronome here to kind of help me stay on the beat. Alright. So we can grab all these and we can hit quantize up here and it will try to put everything on the grid according to 16th notes. But I didn't play great, so these are kind of off. Alright, so these are all the same, I know. So let's grab this. I want to change up the last part here so it's not the same thing all the way through because that gets kind of boring. Do, 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 do. Okay. And what would we have? What would we have? We had C, D, A. C, D, A. So we C, D, A. So now we got a basic bass line here. But let's see if we can make it more interesting. We can move some notes around. So we go down, then up, then down. Let's see. What if we add an extra note in here? This adds a little bounciness to the track here. And while we're at it, maybe we'll go ahead and choose an instrument from here for here. So maybe we'll pull up Alchemy here, which is a default Logic synth. And I like the Prismatica pack. Let's see, let's try one of these. Alright, these drums are going crazy. I'm gonna turn the cutoff down, but since I don't want to have to keep going inside of that synth, we're gonna pull up this little control here, and we're going to assign something here. We are going to delete, and then we are going to learn, and then we're going to do this cutoff. Now this is now filter cutoff. So now I can just control it here, easy. All right, now we're gonna add some drums. Man, we'll do Lin drum. All right, so we got Lin drum here. So this is the kick. I'm just gonna do a really simple drum pattern here because obviously you can do all kinds of stuff for drums, but let's keep it simple. All right, so we got our hi-hats here. We will add some open hats. And I'm gonna get rid of the hats where the snares are hitting. And I'm gonna change up the velocity here so it's not all the same. I'm gonna try adding like a little synth riff now. Something like that. Again, we're doing the kind of just playing one note and then we can move it around. All right, so this is like more of a lead pattern, which we'll keep it simple, and maybe we will throw that in maybe here. It's kind of tropical-ish, kind of cool. And I don't really think I'm liking this. Let me see. Let me find. Again, you can use any sounds you have just in your DAW. You don't have to buy any extra sounds if you don't want to. But for the sake of this song, let me see. Let me try. All right, now this is so barren. This is kind of more of a mixing phase, but I need to add something to this so it sounds not bad. I use comeback kit, which is my favorite delay. This almost sounds better without the chords, honestly. We'll tuck those back in. Let's add some swirl. Or sauce. Tape. Let's see what other drums we got in here. That's kind of good modern disco. I'm just need to shorten these so I can breathe more. And this will all sound better with the mixing and a whole bunch of stuff later. This is kind of like rough draft of a novel, think. You're like really just getting ideas down on paper. Still too long. So what we're gonna do, we got this one knob filter. So we're gonna have it be more quiet. Low battery. I'm gonna have to stop soon. Dang it, this is taking so much longer than I thought it would. I'm much faster when I'm not trying to teach at the same time. All right. What if we start this out lower, 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 lower? Okay, so maybe we bring this really down low and we shoot. And there's some really cool effects we can put on these chords to make them sound that cooler. So then we got basically have our whole intro and verse. So then we just copy these over to the next verse. Like so. And we can do some things to make them more interesting too, so it's not exactly the same thing. But so yeah, now we just need the vocal, which will carry the melody, and the verses are done. All right, so now we are going to do the chorus. And for this, I'm going to pull up a session drummer, and this is really cool. So now you get all kinds of cool drum patterns you can get right out of the box. The chord rhythm. All right, we got a nice fill in there too. So we'll just copy this for now up to our disco. So it's the same instrument. Nice. And then for this bass, let's try to do like the arpeggiated synth bass here. So it makes the chorus a little bit more driving, less bouncy, more, which I find, I like maybe bouncy verses, but I feel like the choruses, you really want this like drive home, driving on the grid kind of thing. Like that. You really want to go 80s, you can do that. It might be cool to turn this on, like automate this in like towards the end there. That was kind of cool how it came in just at the end. So let's go to the arpeggiator and we want to do octave range, I think. So what happens if we just, not 4. Oh, not the volume. Let's do 2. Like right there. Oh, that was cool. I didn't even realize that was in there in the modern disco. That's something with the transition there. Oops, not 4. That's kind of cool at the end there, though. There we go. Kind of cool. All right. That's what I love about music production is a lot of times you're like Michelangelo. Well, he kind of had the sculpture in mind, but you're kind of just like carving away the marble block and revealing the beautiful statue within. It's kind of like you're just discovering the song versus writing it. At least that's what I find produces the best results. The same thing for like writing a novel. I'm also a novelist. I've been a semi-finalist in a couple of different novel competitions. And I find the best writing happens when the story just writes itself. So we're kind of just summoning the muse here and just letting things be discovered. So what did we uncover with this? What kind of sounds are being triggered? Laser dive. Okay, that's what's going on there. a little loud. There we go. Cool. Alright, I'm not that happy with the chords, and this is why I hate doing tutorials like this, because so often when I'm writing, I'll go back and rewrite something, and then it's like all over the place, and it's hard to edit because it's like, here's how you do the chords, and then it's like, oh, sorry, those chords I just did, now we're redoing them. So hopefully this doesn't bother you too much, because this is just my real writing process, and I think this is the case for a lot of artists. Do 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 do. Let's go back up. Do 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 do. Bum 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 bum. All right, this is where I'm not great at figuring out the chord. This is where it can be good to be better at music. We can figure these out better. I'm hearing it in my head, but I'm not able to figure it out without a lot of trial and error. Nope. Pull this up. No. It's kind of cool, but that's not what I'm wanting. Okay, that's close. Ooh, that's it. Oh, that's what I wanted. All right, let's see. Not 100% happy with this note, though. Ah, I think that's what I wanted. Maybe we want to... I like that. It's a little different. What if we moved other little notes around? Just little subtle things. Nice, I like it. I like it. If we brought this down. 9. Das ist nicht sehr gut. How about this? Nah. What about this? What if we did? Just a little variation. Nap, 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 nap. Do we want this up here? Oh, okay. All right, I can work with this. We can work with this. All right. Oh, now we got a chorus going. Yeah, boy. Let's go. Is that what the kids say? All right. I just want to shorten these up a bit. I want to breathe a little bit. All right. Now I think I want some kind of ARP sound or something. Sorry, I get really weird when I'm writing songs. I think that's another tip. Actually, it's a feature, not a bug. Just be weird and crazy when you're writing songs. What do I want to try? Yes, I go run to Russian voice too. I love these Serum preset packs by Synth Control, by the way. Can't recommend them enough. I'll link to those in the description. That's where I'm getting all these sounds from. All right. But again, if you're a complete beginner, you don't need to buy anything. Just use the sounds in your DAW. I did that for years. But since I have these sounds and I like them, I'm going to use them. Alright. So this doesn't get too messy and tricky. We're going to do that. And we are going to expand this. Now you don't have to do little synth art thing, riffs or something. I just like to have some other mid instruments. We got like the chords, but I like to have something else. Sometimes I don't even have chords. I just have the art that can kind of take up. Then you get the bass, you get the drums. And the only other thing you need is the lead or the vocals and some sound effects. So we're almost there. We're almost there. All right. And then what was I gonna do? Do. Okay, this goes up here, and then this goes up here and up here. I like that. I think that's good. Alright, let's create a macro to shrink this down. Delete all patch mapping. And we are going to learn. And we're going to grab the sustain here. And we are going to add actually, dang it, I messed it up, I think. Delete all patch mappings. Alright, we're going to learn. And we're going to do the decay. And then we're going to do a separate one. We're going to do the sustain. Now, if these don't mean anything to you, don't worry. Basically, it just shortens up the sound because it's nice and big right now, but I might want it smaller later. Right? So, like, I can come in here and I can't do it right now because I have my musical typing up. Where's my, okay. Close that. So I can come here, hit A. I go into automation. I can see my different automation lanes. I can do my smart controls. We can look at decay here. And we can that's volume. Why am I always saying volume? All right. We can pull this down a tad. Alright, not bad. And so now we're doing pretty good for our chorus now. We just need the lead / melody and then the effects, which we'll do that later. Alrighty there. So we might for the last chorus, for this first half, have a little breakdown section. Oh, my bass sounds so good. A little curve though, slope. I might want to have even more of a big crescendo crash, or maybe we want to have it. Wait a minute. So let's see. All right. I'm making an executive decision, executive order, to extend the chorus. It's going to be a little longer, but that's okay. How long is the song? Okay, we're under 3 minutes, so that's worked. We want a little bit of silence, I think. That was an accident. That's kind of cool. So that's how we can distinguish our final chorus. Like, yeah, so the last two bars, or last two measures, will have the 3 octave. Let's see, do we want it all the way through though? All right, so now I got everything done except for like the bridge, I guess. And the pre-chorus. All right, I want that really like 80s, 90s, like glassy piano sound. So let's try this by Syntronic 2 piano. Really cheesy electric piano sound that hits you right in the nostalgia. I don't like this performance either, I'm going to have to change that. Yeah, that works. Oh, why does that bass sound so good? This is better. There we go. Try 2. Alright, I want a different bass sound. Simplify. Oh, crazy. Hopefully I layered it this time. And that little laser thing just needs some reverb on it. Okay, so I think we're doing pretty good now with our bridge. I wanted some bass though. Do I want to chop this up? Do do do, do do do, do do do. Is that right? So we're gonna try to have this follow the pattern of the piano there a little bit. That's nice. Do another cut here. Then it goes to G. Now we're kind of hitting eighth notes. I think I'm gonna need some kind of pad here. Dreamy pad, dreamy pad, dreamy pad. It's a little too thin. Maybe an upper sphere, alien woodwinds. Probably not this one. Let's move this up an octave. All right, so now we gotta figure out this pre-chorus. Kind of like a alarm or something. Ooh, ah, ooh, It's a lot of tension building, so that's cool. So we'll start down an octave, then this will come up an octave. And I want to layer those other parts with something else. Maybe not this synth, but something. Like a bell or something. I like that. It's like panning. Faraway Land. Is this a nice one? Yeah. Or Cloud City. Made that sound myself. I need some different drums for what I have in mind here. One more. Epic. I'm going to try and add a lead part here, and I'm just going to play it on my keyboard here. I'm just going to mess around until I find something I like, and I'm using Synth Fluid this time. Alright, again, I think I might just put down the pattern first and then move the notes around. So let me find a pattern like... Something like that. Interesting sound. Could be fun to add that because it's so different. And of course, we are going to automate these. Dark and bright.
Dark and bright. Fast and slow.
Alright. Crikey. The marquee tool so that we don't have to click so many times. Something like so. Something like so. think I got something. Alright, I butchered the last part of that, but... That's pretty cool. So there, now we got the leads done. Any other leads we need? Maybe like, I might have to, after I put in the vocals, maybe go in and see if I can fit in this like a tiny few notes here and there. But otherwise, that's pretty much good for the leads. All right, so now we're gonna try and finish up this track by adding in our ear candy and just making any adjustments we want to adjust, clean things up. Speaking of cleaning things up, let's just organize these tracks a little better. So let's see, we got like our ARPs here. So we'll just do create track stack. So say ARPs. So we might want to add some more like chords to like the second chorus. So we definitely want to do some automation too here. So this is where we're getting this is kind of what I would consider ear candy as well. So we want to go into Synth, dark bright, and we are going to ball this up. I'm going to click this button to add another automation lane. We'll do fast, slow. Use the marquee tool here. Put some in here. Might even want to have it increase slightly during the verses too. So basically, I like to have my synths be always changing, not static. The more movement I feel like you can add, the more interesting your track is. I mean, that's what you have with live instruments like acoustic guitar, right? It's like every strum is not the same. All right, let's pull that down. Let's have this like peak a little bit right before jumping into the verse. So the intro, we get a little bit more interest in the intro, a little bit more changing. All right. Alright, so back to this chorus now. So this is a really slow pad. So would it sound awful if we lengthen this out? We'll find out. Could ruin it. Alternatively, we could change the sound too with the automation. So we're using a Vital preset I made. It's weird, it's on a harpsichord. Let's just do... Can we do... Oh, let's map some of these. So let's map like the filter cutoff here. We can have this come up. And then we're going to want to adjust the attack as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just say attack. And we can come in here to Smart Controls and do attack. And again, we can increase this attack over time. So it's a little bit faster paced. And then we might want to reduce like the decay. Sustain. Yeah, like that. Alright, so we'll take this and we're going to learn, sustain. Cool. And then we're going to pull that down in here too. Sustain. Alright. Alright. Now what happens if we bring these down? So it's what makes thickens up a bit. What if we just add a whole other instrument in here? Yeah, we can use Synth. What if I want to change the cutoff here? Turn down the resonance a bit. Right, we're going to turn off the ARP. Not bad, and then we're gonna have the next chorus pick up a bit mellow. That's about good right there. What's that probably? I like that. Curve it. right, now let's see what like cool like sound effects and stuff we can find in here. So I really like, ooh, VHS drums. I really like Lander, who is the sponsor of this video. They have a bunch of awesome samples. All right, so we will download that. That's pretty cool too. We might download that. Obviously, there's all kinds you can get. These are just kind of a more retro style stuff. That's probably enough for now. We'll go ahead and try placing some of these. So let's go ahead and add in an audio chuck. All right, let's look at these risers. It's definitely like the pre-chorus. That one's really fast. So I'm gonna make sure we place it just right. Maybe like right there. Make sure that waveform we want. I like that. So sometimes you gotta zoom in with these and really make sure you're hitting on the right spot. But I think that's good. Nice. Makes a huge difference. Huge difference. All right, we're gonna put the tail of this like right. All right, can you please just on the grid there? So now I know if I want to move it to the other chorus, it would be pretty easy. All right, we'll do that. All right, we want to line it up with this. So this goes right like so. At least I thought. There we go. See how that sounds. All right, so I'm just gonna go and arrange these sound effects and then I'll show you what I did. All right, so here's what we got. So I'll mute some of these so just so we can hear the sound effects better. So we got the synthwave sweep and then we got that rapid riser here. Nice. And then we got the same stuff here coming out of the other pre-chorus, but we added a couple extra things, so just so it's a little bit different. Start back beginning here. Probably increase the volume of that hard impact there. Pretty cool. And then out of the chorus into the bridge. Impact. And then out of the bridge. Just a little breakdown section we're building up again. Then the outro. Pretty cool. And I also had this little spoken word clip by Steve Backlund. I'm not sure if I'll keep it in here or not, but it sounds kind of cool.
God make me willing. I had struggles, man. I don't know if I can do this. God make me willing. I saw the Lord high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. What God's raising you up for is bigger than you know.
I thought that was kind of cool. As far as like production wise, I just put some denoising on here, reverb and clarity. So if I turn these all off, you can hear how this sounds.
I had struggles, man. I don't know if I can do this.
So using some church talking, so you can hear the echo. So I've turned these on and try to remove that.
God make me willing. I had struggles, man. I don't know if I can do this. God make me willing.
So that's, yeah, a lot less reverby, and then it adds just some compression, some EQ. Then I added in this filter by UJam. So actually, let's just hear the EQ and compression without the filter.
God make me willing. I had struggles, man.
Yeah, a lot more up in your face. We got the filter.
God make me willing. I had struggles, man.
That broken sound. Then we got some delay.
God make me willing. I had struggles, man. I don't know if I can do this.
Got the ducker on
God
here,
make
so
me-
it's mostly just coming in when it's the dry signal goes away. Then we got some UFX reverb by UGM here. Vocal ice.
God make me willing. I had struggles, man. I don't know if I can do this. God make me willing. I had struggles, man. I don't know if I can do.
So those are just some ideas. So you can see the main thing is those like kind of risers and impacts and downlifters and stuff. Little stuff like that really goes a long way towards making your track sound pretty cool. And so that's some ear candy. And we got lots of other stuff going on. Like look at all the silence we got in here where stuff drops out. That's ear candy. We already went through all that different automations. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on how you can really help pull your song together and make it sound awesome. And in the next video in the Saddest Studio Ever series, I'm going to be breaking down how you can go about writing lyrics. So we're going to, and kind of a melody, really come up with like what the vocal melody is going to be, what the lyrics should be, and then we're going to go and record the vocals. That'll be the video after that. So go ahead and click on the screen now to go to that next video as we work through finishing this song start to finish from scratch.